Hello, and welcome to the 9 to 5 Wellness podcast and LinkedIn Live interview. I'm so glad you guys are here because today we are going to talk about sustainable beauty. And for that, I have a very special guest joining me today. Her name is Marquita Robinson Garcia. Sorry if I mispronounced. A cosmetic chemist turned entrepreneur with a mission to personalized, sustainable care. Who doesn't want that? I am all in for sustainable skincare. Known as Philly's mad scientist gone good, and I think we are going to talk more about this title of hers. Uh, Marquita brings to you her extensive experience from the beauty industry. She has spent years developing products side by side with multinational brands such as Chanel, NARS, and Bare Minerals, gaining a deep understanding of personal care and cosmetic formulation. In 2017, she channeled her expertise into a greater cause and founded Divinity Skincare, Philadelphia's first all natural brand offering personalized beauty care services. In her self care guide, The Sustainable Beauty, Marquita invites you to learn from her vast experience, empowering you to become an informed consumer and advocate for your own skin health. So she's a published author. And as a fellow author myself, I know how much that takes. So that is awesome. And we are going to talk more about her book over here too. Welcome to the show, Marquita. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much. I'm doing well. I feel honored to be here with you today. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us today. So, I want to know about your journey into customized skincare. What inspired you to move away from traditional personal care products and into more sustainable skincare?
Yeah, I really wanted to be able to share something that I believed in myself. A lot of times when we really align with our why for doing something, it makes it a lot easier to make sure that that's actually representing our core values and things we believe in. And while I had much success, extreme success in the industry, there was a part that just was not as fulfilling. And I went into wanting to customize, really to share more of the science behind beauty. Oftentimes, we're led to use beauty care and skincare and cosmetics because we feel less of ourselves and we want to feel better. We think we need to look better, or we think there's a certain look that's required in order for us to be accepted among others. And I had a different philosophy because after formulating and creating products for so many different kinds of people, whether you have straight hair, curly hair, dark skin, light skin, short, tall, fat or small, people are not happy with themselves. And so I wanted to really just share my joy for the love that I have for myself and somehow inspire others to feel that way as well by customizing skincare that was suitable for them.
Wow, that's wonderful. I just love what you said that people are not happy with themselves. Tell me a little more, like what were you experiencing when you were working in the mainstream traditional skincare industry? What were people saying to you?
Working for a raw material supplier, right? So I wasn't really talking to those who were everyday consumers purchasing products. We were actually the ones, if you will, say responsible for a lot of the trends or a lot of the claims or a lot of the things that brands, we were the ones training the brands on, what's in, what's coming up, what is going to the future going to look like. And ultimately the purpose of doing that is to get them to purchase your raw materials and ingredients that will be essential for their formulations so that they can continue to sell to the end customer. So for me, I was really playing, if you will, the wizard behind the scenes, creating the demand in the first place because we had the raw materials to supply into this industry. And then if we could supply those raw materials to the industry and be the sole supplier, like if we could supply our premium, our unique raw ingredients that you really couldn't find anywhere else, then boom, we're locked in. And that would take care of our paychecks for however many years. And so it really was a game of, as everything is, kind of a game of making sure that you stayed in front of the brands enough to be relevant and ensure that they will purchase the ingredients that you are selling. And so I didn't actually talk to consumers. Consumers oftentimes are led by what they learn based on advertisements or whatever marketing is most relevant for the time. And so you'll find that one look is in this season and then the next season it's a completely different look. And it will be a completely different look because it's required in order to make more sales. If you're ever actually happy with how you look or feel about yourself, then you're not going to buy as much of the cool cosmetics or the plump lip or the voluminous eye or the big hair or the flat hair or the curly, like you're not going to feel the need to change your image so much. And so we create the demand, we create the urgency even, and really, kind of pointing at the vulnerability for if you don't jump on, you're going to be left out, and it's human nature to want to do things collectively, come together, be accepted. Like this is survival. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I'm not even sitting here preaching any kind of wrong idea that there's something wrong. Like it's normal to want to be accepted by your peers, to be attractive. This is part of our survival. It's what makes us successful in life. But we oftentimes what we find in the for the beauty industrial complex is it's exaggerated. It's exaggerated, right? So we go from basic hygiene of washing our skin and moisturizing and making sure that we look acceptable and clean, making sure that our hair is groomed, brush and comb, not too many knots, making sure that our skin is protected from the sun, right? Like we take those basic hygiene and even in how we smell, whew, big deal, right? So these are all big
Yeah.
deals. And we know that hygiene is important in our personal image. The first impression makes a big deal in how people perceive you and how successful you can be in your life, right? However, when that's exaggerated, and when we can create the urgency um, that really touch to those vulnerabilities, the self-esteem, the confidence, and this and just kind of implying or suggesting that you're still not good enough. Well, then you can get folks to spend um, an obscene amount of money, copious times, unlimited amount of times, really
Yeah.
just chasing a target that never moves and just gets further and further away from you, the closer you try to get.
Yeah. Yeah. I love everything you just shared. And there are a few things that I want to expand upon. First of all, you said you were the wizard behind the ingredients or providing the ingredients to the industry. Tell me a little more about, what is so special about plant-based ingredients that you're using now
Okay.
versus what was going on earlier. And thank you so much for clarifying that you weren't really working directly with the consumer like me. Like, I go to Sephora and
Yeah.
Ulta and Mac stores and
Yeah.
all. And yeah, I am a big consumer of
Yeah. I
all
mean,
those
we
products.
but we all are. We all are. That's and there's a good reason for that, right? Because we want to look good, we want to smell good, we want to feel good, we want to be accepted. That's survival.
Yeah.
There's zero there. Like if you're not doing that, then we need to consider some changes because that is essential for our survival. Who and what
Yes.
we attract, feeling
Yes.
good about ourselves, looking good, right? So, but when we're chasing a moving target, that just it ends up it's just really ridiculous ideals that will never actually be achieved. That's where we get caught up in the overspending. Okay, so to like what was it like kind of working more behind the scenes? it was, and it's the best way that I could say this, because no one, typically the consumer would never see someone that, or you don't know, you would work with someone that was working as a chemist for a raw material supplier. And most of the raw material suppliers, um, my former peers are probably like, "What you doing?" But it's just the truth. We're
Yeah.
selling synthetic or raw materials that are created in a lab. This is what we mean by synthetic chemicals.
Gotcha.
All chemical, like there's chemicals, and then there's like the harsh chemicals or unsafe chemicals. There's toxic chemicals. There's the more pleasant chemicals or botanicals or herbal ingredients. I mean, like water is a chemical. Okay, so we're never going chemical free. What the consumer or families and households, I even hate to say consumers, we're households, we're humans. Okay, what
Yeah.
humans need to learn is how we can balance our internal chemistry and our external being our skin. How can we balance out our chemistry, our biochemistry with the external chemistry in the world so that we can manage that exposure without hurting ourselves or going against what our goals are? Okay. So a lot of the times with the synthetic ingredients, they can be added to cosmetics without the same scrutiny, approval process, or even testing processes as, like, for example, the food industry or the pharma industry. Certain silent killers, as I like to call them, that slowly can break down or degrade the exterior or even interior of the body as they get absorbed into the skin, or in the like oral consumption, just using lip care over and over. Okay. Or
Yeah.
eye care. I mean, as you think about it, you're like, oh my goodness, we're exposing our bodies to these products that we trust and think are safe because they're in a nice, pretty bottle, they smell really good, and everyone's saying it's acceptable. But not realizing that some of those ingredients could have been snuck in just because there's not as much testing or attention to detail with what goes into cosmetics. And many times, some of the ingredients could just be something that carried over from industrial use. It could be something that's just kind of laying around. I don't want to call it waste, but it may have been thrown away or discarded otherwise, and tested just enough to see if it would cause like a immediate death, and if it might cause some kind of a chronic issue. Then there's the test to see, well, what's the maximum amount of toxin we can add to a product before it causes a real problem. So, like, there's still times where we're having these very harsh, very aggressive, very like ingredients that the consumer would never, or individuals, households would never even come in contact. Like, you would never even see these ever, never, because they were only made in a lab, possibly for industrial, very serious industrial use, for other applications like inks and coatings for paint, or fuel for cars, or, I mean, I'm thinking of the worst examples, but then you can take some of the leftover byproducts of that, and if they're not too bad, just we can say, okay, well, we can put, this is the allowable amount of, let's just say, poison we can add to something before it would just outright, cause an obvious adverse effect. So oftentimes you have to think about these products as not necessarily safe for use, just not, they won't outright cause the problem the first time, but maybe repeated exposure. And oftentimes with our skincare, our cosmetics, we're using them every day.
Yeah.
So with repeated
Yeah, I
exposure
mean, I'm using it every day.
every
I am
day,
one of
yeah,
those people.
yeah.
Daily makeup, as you can see.
And that's okay. Listen, it's not, again, we're not going to get away from our modern lives. It's just being aware and knowing how to manage our chemical load and exposure, right? It's
Okay.
also knowing how to choose. Like, so when you learn a little bit more about those ingredient listings, you can start to look for, there are products on the market that are perfectly natural, actually safe to use, not safe enough that it won't hurt you, but like they're actually safe enough to use, high quality. And sometimes you have to do your research. You have to be willing to maybe pay a little bit more. You have to be willing to work with a smaller, not so convenient producer or brand that can produce the products and make the products a certain way, but maybe it's not as easy to find in your retail or local store. It really requires being a conscious buyer and purchasing things with the intention of taking care of yourself first, right? So first, I have to think you're worthy enough for the time and attention. Are you worthy? Yeah, absolutely. You're the most divine creature in your life. You're the most important creature in your life. Without you, there's no perception or concept of you being alive. So we've got to take care of you first because you're worth it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wait a minute. You're telling me I'm the only one like me and the most precious thing in my world? Yes. Now, with that said, how will I decide what even has the opportunity to come in contact with my body in my home, my children's bodies, my husband's body, my wife's bodies? Like, what even is worthy enough of coming in contact with me? When we make decisions from that perspective, it becomes a no-brainer that we should take our time and choose um, products, food, what we listen to, what we read, the things we watch. Like at that point, now all of a sudden you become the god and the goddess of your life, and you just will not accept anything below divine and absolutely magical for your life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting how you just weaved self-esteem, um, our desire and need to belong, right? Uh, To survive and belong
Absolutely.
and be accepted. The way you present yourself, right? The way you're coming across or showing up, which of course includes, how you look, right? How you look, how you smell, because that's a big aspect of cosmetic industry too,
Absolutely.
perfumes and body sprays and whatnot.
Hmm.
um, that is related to um, the products we use every day. Like that connection. Uh, I I couldn't have made it like this unless I listened to you. So I'm so glad you made that connection for us. I want to explore something else that you just mentioned, that when that you were into the product education component of the cosmetic products too, and you still are for your line. Um, I want to know, you said, oh, so we are all vulnerable, right? There's a vulnerability that we all carry because we want to show up as a person who's accepted, right?
In my belief, in my personal
Yes,
experience, I
no,
don't know. I don't
actually,
know
I'm gonna,
anyone who's not.
yes. And as you said, like, if you're not, there's an issue, right?
Right.
And I totally agree. I'm reading this book by the author's name is Nir Eyal, and it's called Hooked. The book is called Hooked.
Mm.
And it's kind of like not related to cosmetics, but it is about, creating products that people will use
Mhm.
or creating desire
Right.
for a certain product. And
Right.
one of the things actually he mentioned, and I read it last night, so this is very like fresh in my mind, is that we human beings have this desire to be accepted, this desire to belong. And if you are trying to create a product, or if you want someone to use a product, that acceptance part has to play a big role. um, so I'm so glad, like, you made those dots and connected it to the fact that human beings, as human beings, we are all vulnerable and we all want to feel accepted. Okay, I want to talk about sustainable beauty? How can we switch away from synthetic products? Of course, as you said, there are chemicals that are always going to be part of the products that we're using on our
Absolutely.
skin, and those can be natural too. And I believe that that is the way you are promoting and changing the products that you are providing. So tell me more about it. Tell me more about sustainable beauties. Tell me more about Divinity skincare products.
Yeah, so sustainable beauty oftentimes in the industry is has more to do with the containers, packaging, or the I guess the how green a particular product is, whether or not it will create toxic waste in the environment, right? It oftentimes has a much more focus on what we humans are doing to the world and how we can save Mother Nature and things like that. When I talk about sustainable beauty, Divinity Skincare, and in my educational platform workshops that I host with my students in schools, when I'm talking about sustainable beauty, even in the book that I wrote, The Sustainable Beauty, it's very
Yes.
specific. The sustainable beauty, you are the sustainable beauty, right? It really focuses more on centering about what sustains your beauty. And if you're thinking about that and you're able to get away from the emotional aspect of being acceptable with your physical appearance, right? Because the acceptance and the emotional vulnerability that we have around being, looked at or admired by our peers really has to do with like our attractive force or our life force, which is what I believe is our true beauty. It's not only what's on the outside. The outside is a fun cover. It's a fun way to maybe kind of, get a foot in the door, but it's not what's going to keep you there. It's not what's going to sustain that beauty. So what makes us sustainable in our approach to beauty is what actually sustains our life force. I write that beauty is the universal language of life. It's the way that we can communicate our vitality, our longevity, how healthy we are, what we look like in our appearance, and how well we keep up with ourselves. Really, also hints at what's happening inside of us and how well our body, this beautiful, most intelligent machine that we have to get around, that's giving us clues to what's going on inside, whether it's our mental health, our circulation, right? And really important, our reproductive health. Okay, where are we going here for? Because the whole whether we
Yeah,
want to have
no,
children or not, this is where
tell
it
me
gets really
more.
deep. But
Tell me
whether we
more.
want to have children or not is irrelevant. Maybe not, maybe we do, but there's still this primal, this instinct
Yes, yes.
this sexual desire that is like very real and very strong because it's how we can continue to propagate life,
Yeah.
which is kind of the point, right? It's how we got here. So whether we are appreciating it so much that we're then continuing the legacy and lineage of our ancestors, or we simply acknowledge somebody had to get it on in order for us to be here. One way or another, the honor was done. And so that is what sustains our beauty. And that is
Yeah.
why we need to feel attracted. And this is why it's important. This is why being accepted is so important. It's not so much like I want people to like me, because you don't need a lot of people to like you to sustain your beauty, but you do need to maintain your body, be aligned with yourself, your values, and making sure that your appearance somehow is also aligned with what's going on inside. So that way you attract the right person or people's community in your life, because ultimately we're communal creatures, right? So we do still rely on one another. The most successful people in the world will never, no one does it on their own. We are relying
No.
on teams of people, and we're trusting one another whether we know it or not, and so it's that's the whole point. Okay, so sustainable beauty for us is not so much what we're doing in the environment, but more so, again, the full appreciation of ourselves and what our life, the value of our life, and then how we can value the next generation of life that we create. And so when we sustain our beauty, again, we're going to choose the ingredients, the products, the things. We're going to choose the activities, the lifestyle that will ensure our survival. That's really what beauty is all about. That's the whole point. Otherwise, it just, then we get into vanity or some conceit, and we get into things that don't necessarily serve us, which is what the beauty industrial complex, or more retail, the more mainstream beauty, really focuses on, that and not so much your vitality, your mental health, your physical bodily health, and what you're doing to actually ensure the continuation, and the progression. Not just, we don't want to just continue suffering now. We want to actually progress, feel good, and evolve, right? So the evolution of humans, and ensuring that, we can continue to have a more fruitful, worthwhile experience here on earth. That's what sustainable beauty means to me. So it's like, okay, so if we can do that with synthetic ingredients and products, be my guest, right? But oftentimes what we found is the synthetic ingredients just kind of can degrade our skin and make us feel bad and keep us looking for, oh, what do I need to look good in the mirror? Whereas if we're looking at real sustainable beauty, the ingredients will find, unless you learned of something else. But all roads still lead back to Mother Nature being the most luxurious, the most effective, and the most, I would say, easy to access, right? Because in any local area you can access something natural, the herbs, the botanicals there local to you. You don't really have to go far and use like snail slime that you can only get in this one place, or it doesn't require blue algae from, the whatever sea. Like, you can get local good stuff right there, wherever you are, and use it to, what am I talking about? I'm talking about avocados, for example, or maybe almond oil, or olive oils. I'm talking about pink Himalayan sea salts, for a bath, for a scrub. I'm talking about like ground oatmeal powders, lavender, rose, jasmine. This is what I'm talking about, right? Like simple things that we can use to make tinctures, extractions, simple extractions using water, witch hazel. I know I'm digressing, but the whole point is, like, this is what I mean by sustainable beauty, and how we can source those very simple ingredients that can work amazing wonders in maintaining our life force, our beauty, and keeping us, again, well groomed, and really feeling good about what we're doing for our bodies, because that's what's going to honor our body in self-care. But then also, honoring Mother Earth, celebrating the beauty and richness that is already provided for us.
Yeah, Marquita, you know what? I want to just underscore something you said, that the more sustainable beauty we practice, the better, we feel about ourselves. And in most cases, that doesn't come from synthetic products. So, yeah, I love your approach to natural products like avocados, coconut oil. I know
Yeah,
coconut oil is
coconut oil.
especially.
Yeah, all of it.
I
Shea butter.
apply coconut oil right now because we are running heat in our homes, right? We are
Oh
in
yeah.
Philadelphia, and because of snow, of course, it's
Yes.
so
Yeah.
cold. As soon as I start, in the wintertime, when I start running my heat, I'm like, oh my gosh, my skin is going to get so dry.
Right.
Um, so yeah, coconut oil is so good. And there's so many other bunch of products, right?
Mhm.
Just like you said,
Right in your kitchen.
Himalayan salt. Yeah, yeah. Sugar scrubs. Like,
Sugar
I
scrubs.
remember my grandma, my maternal grandma, she used to make her own sugar scrub.
Yeah.
I don't do it. I've heard it's easy to do. Maybe I'll come to one of your workshops to learn how to do it. But all of those things are just around us, and that
Yeah.
is exactly what sustainable beauty is, because that's gonna feed us from the inside.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that is just wonderful. I do want to circle back to something you just said earlier, and that was like you're talking about vitality
Oh
and
yeah.
youthful living and long life and
Mm,
healthy life, right? And
mm,
health, like because we were talking about, and I remember when we met at the Pyramid Club at the expo, we were talking about this uh, gut health axis and gut skin axis. If I'm, yes, gut skin axis, yes, gut skin axis. Tell me and my listeners a little bit more about that, because that always is like so fascinating to me, that what is happening inside you is gonna come outside on your skin, because skin is an organ, right? It's one of our biggest organs, and it is the way we feel the world. We are presenting ourselves to the world, but we also feel the world
right.
through this skin, right? This organ of skin. So what as a chemist, tell me what's going on, and how does what we eat, because as a nutrition scientist, I'm always like, trying to make that connection between what we eat and how it's impacting everything else we do, including our skin. So tell me about how it impacts our skin.
Yeah, I mean the gut, it just sounds so it sounds so cliche, beauty is inside out, but it really is. So there's so many microorganisms. This is what they call it, the microbiome. And that microbiome is it's in the stomach, it's in the gut, it's all over our bodies. Here's the connection, and I think this is probably one of the easiest way to think about it. So the same epithelial cells that make up the layers of the skin, that just kind of continues. And if you could think of the inside of your mouth all going down to the throat, and then the cells that coat the lining of the stomach down into the duodenum before it gets into the intestine. Because I just know we just went through a whole lot there. All of those, that's still an extension. Those are epithelial cells that are all their epithelial cells are protective cells. They tend to be thicker, longer, and they are able to maybe let's say they're involved with some absorption or protection. Let's think of more so protection. Okay, so the same way that the skin is protecting our body supposedly from the external environment, it that continues, right? And so the reason that is because it becomes a very harsh environment when we're digesting things, and we have to be, the stomach has to be able to withstand some very serious, highly acidic, and basic, meaning basic base secretions from the stomach in order to digest and break down food. Now, at the end of the day, there's also the gut bacteria that continues the breaking down and digestion. Like we oftentimes think it's just our stomach doing the crunching and then our intestines pushing things out, and then boom, we it goes bye-bye. But it doesn't quite work that way. There are gazillions of tiny little creatures that make up the digestion system, and that starts also on the skin. So it's really just a continuation. So from that perspective, whatever's going on in the gut, whatever we're putting in our bodies, that's what our body's going to continue to crave. So if that's high sugar, if that's um something that is processed or food, like fast foods, things like that, whatever we're feeding our body, we're going to continue to create organisms that are going to crave that. So the cravings oftentimes come from the other tiny creatures of the universe within us, not always ourselves, because that universe is going to send the signals to the brain to get us to want to crave more of that. Now, with the skin, now what's happening on the skin is whatever the liver or the kidneys or the other organs involved with breaking down and excretion, whatever it can't get out might either get stuck. It can bioaccumulate in the body. It can overwork the liver, and it can come out of the skin. That is the signal. Hey, pay attention. Look what's happening here. We're overloaded here. Or maybe it could be pimples. It could be too much sweat. It could be eczema, too dry, some allergic reaction. Oftentimes, that's what's coming out of our body and our skin. It can go in the form of all sorts of things can happen. And that's a signal to pay attention to what's happening on the inside. And so oftentimes we find that once we can start to change our diet and train our bodies to crave the things that it requires for whole foods, organic foods, good foods, then that oftentimes will allow for the microbiome within to then feed on these richer foods, these more whole foods that can maintain us. And then we oftentimes will see our skin will clear up, our skin will be glowing, we'll have less wrinkles, less fine lines, smoother skin. And so I'm not sure if that really answers the question as much as it's just kind of some basic logic for why, right? It's the same continuation of cells, right? And really the skin is, by the time something is coming out of the skin, it's probably more so your body trying to help you understand like there's some changes that are necessary. And it's the same thing with any illness, any chronic illness. Like we only experience disease because we're probably practicing things or vibrating too low. And we need to shift that energy and shift our energy sources, our sources of energy. Like right, we need to adjust the way we're choosing to energize the body. And but when we do that, you know, significant changes happen. Now, sure, you have to stick to it, right? 6 months, every 6 months, the liver regenerates itself. So we've got to sometimes get over the hump, right? And get over our bad habits. And I don't want to say bad, good or bad, because no judgment here. But we've got to overcome certain hurdles, right? We can't expect something to change in 2 weeks that we've practiced something maybe for 10 years, right? It does take some time and consistency for the body to relearn what it needs. But ultimately, it's really, I see the skin, I really just see the skin as the messenger. It's receiving, but it's also the messenger is helping you to understand what's going on and ways that you can adjust. And I think that's the most like practical way to think about it without getting like too scientific or getting too biochemical or, you know, it's just giving you the message. So if you're not liking what you see, don't blame the skin. Your skin's not sensitive, maybe. Maybe your skin isn't, you know, maybe you're not old and wrinkly. Maybe you're not aging. Maybe there's just certain life choices. Like I said, that's why I said making different decisions about how you choose to energize the body, because that's what we're doing when we're eating. I've got to get some energy. I've got to energize this body. Well, how you choose to fuel your body is going to have a direct connection on what your body's going to look like inside and out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more because as you can see, I'm drinking water. Because yeah, I try to keep a water bottle on my desk all the time because skin needs hydration, right? Most of the moisturizers and everything that's on the market is kind of promoting hydration of the skin. So you're right. Whatever you're putting inside your body, right? Are you drinking too many sugary drinks? Well, that's going to show up. My I have three boys, and my middle son, he has eczema. And it's funny, like we found out later on that he's sensitive to dairy. So once we
Yeah,
started removing dairy from his diet, his eczema got better. It still
right.
comes back sometimes, especially wintertime is a little rough for him,
Sure,
but it's
sure.
much better now. But you're right, right? Whatever you're putting inside, I wanted to make that connection that whatever you're putting inside is showing up. So, and
Right.
we can look at it the other way around, just like you said, that your skin is a sign, like it's whatever is showing up on your skin, it's a sign of what something, right?
Yeah.
I've heard from a lot of my patients when their hormonal change hormones
Right.
change, especially for female patients, but even male patients, when hormones change or things are happening, like they're going through a stressful period at work or at home or whatnot, they either, for women mostly, they see breakouts. And for men, they would see like dry patches of skin and stuff like that. So all of that is related. I
Mm.
agree with you. I have a question. So I want to leave our listeners and our audience with some practical tips. How can we practice sustainable nature based beauty?
Yeah. It so it's going to start with the first thing, you know, let's talk to ourselves and make sure that our internal dialogue is a lot more patient, a lot more loving, a lot more fulfilling. And I'm not just talking about repeating some affirmations in the mirror. I'm really talking about the thoughts that we entertain throughout our day about ourselves, about our world, about our environment, um, and really find a way to make time, even if it's just 5 minutes, to think about the things we think about throughout the day, because those habits create our behaviors in our life. And we do have the power to change it because we had the power to create them in the first place. So taking some personal responsibility for and wanting, like really having desire to do that internal work, to first recognize and really come to the realization that we are absolutely amazing, phenomenal creatures having an absolutely amazing, phenomenal experience, and that we're the drivers and the creators of that world and that life. And we can take some responsibility that way, right? So, like, step one, you're not just worthy, you're freaking phenomenal and amazing. Okay. So, like, let that sink in and watch how that starts to change your attitude, your choices that you make for yourself, for your family, because you realize if you're so incredible, why in the world would you choose anything less than phenomenal for yourself? So we
Yes.
we we, we first believe that, and that, like, that's how, honestly, I think from there, you'll know what to do, right? But that's like that's an easy way to get out of it. So but really, that's the truth. Like, if you actually believe that about yourself,
Yeah,
there's no
I
advice
want
to
to
give
just
you.
underscore this. I want to just underscore this over here, that not only are you worthy,
Right.
but
No.
you are a phenomenal being, a
Yeah,
unique,
absolutely.
phenomenal being, and this world needs your
You are
beauty.
required,
Yeah,
right?
your
You are
beauty,
required to
your inner
understand
beauty.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, this is
Like, you've
wonderful.
got to do your part, like, no one else needs to do the heavy lifting for you. Like, you're going to know what's best for you. You're going to know what's good for you. You're going to know what's acceptable for you. You're not going to fall for the silly lines in these ads and whatever influences. Like, you're going to start to completely realign your entire life, your circle of people around you. People are going to be attracted to you differently. They're going to see you differently. They're going to know, and it's just going to be something about you that just, like, man. So then, and again, it's not even like to get out of, like, what are my beauty tips and all that. Like, I mean, I don't know, I wash my face, 3 steps: cleanser, toner, moisturizer, right? Like, I'm choosing great ingredients. I'm eating well. I don't eat past 5 or 6, and I won't eat before I've had a bowel movement. Like, these are like, does anybody really want to hear that? Like, no, I walk 5 miles a day, and I try to do yoga whenever my 4 children aren't climbing all over me. Like, no one needs that. That's what works for me. That's what works for my lifestyle. But why did I have to start making decisions and choices like this? Because I'm a mother of four. I'm a wife. I'm a cosmetic chemist. I'm an author. I'm an entrepreneur. And I'm all these titles that mean absolutely nothing. At the end of the day, I am phenomenal in every single way, and I'm creating my life. And I decided that I want to see my life and I want to see my future carved out for me the way I can think on the highest level, regardless of whatever I've got going on from my past, and regardless of what current situation, kind of the tricks, because I'm like, no, 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 I got this. I am my best self. And if I want to continue to show up as my best self, um, that's what I've got to do. So it's tough to give tips because it's going to be so unique, like what works for you in your particular life. Um, but yeah, like those are things that really help me. And it's funny because you'll find that most people who are, like, just pulling in all their energy to themselves and not wasting their time a certain way. All the people who are, like, highly focused on making their life more efficient and rewarding, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not about avoiding difficult hard work or challenges. Like, life can be stuff, like, trust me, carrying those 4 children and having natural births, and then trying to, like, avoid cravings, like, this is crazy. Okay, like, God, I don't know how I did it, right? But the point is, it's going to be challenging, and that's okay. That's what makes the reward worthwhile. If it's not hard, and just kind of just you don't really appreciate it or value it
Yeah,
anyway.
like there is a quote I have in my on my bathroom vanity mirror. So I have
Mhm.
I have these little wooden plaques around my vanity mirror because when I wake up, like that's where I go the first thing in the
Yeah,
morning, right?
yeah, yeah.
I used to have like all the post-it notes on my mirror
Right,
too, and I I stopped doing that because then I'm
right,
like, okay, this is getting crazy. Um,
right.
but but one of them,
But it helps you to focus. I don't know if it's crazy. Like it's okay to be crazy if it's gonna work.
I know.
Like let crazy be
Exactly.
crazy if it's actually working. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? That's okay.
I
Go,
love it.
sorry.
I
Go, yeah.
love that. So one of them says that it was never meant to be easy.
Yeah.
If it was easy, everyone
What's
would
the
do it. It's
everyone would do
supposed to
it.
be hard. It's
It's a
supposed to
right.
be hard.
Right, right. So you
Yeah.
climb the mountain and you look around, you're like, I did it. And what do you do when you climb the mountain? You go right back down to do what? Climb another mountain. You know what I mean? Like it's
Exactly.
we're not looking
Exactly.
for convenience. We're not looking for ease. We're designed and we're built in different, different levels of it for everyone, but we're designed and we're built to overcome, to
Yes.
push ourselves to that limit. How far can I go? And then celebrate that and then do it all over again.
Yes.
You
Because
know?
yes, once we reach the summit, guess what?
Now what?
We find
We're
another
still not happy.
mountain.
We're
We find
still not, yep, not
Yeah, and we
satisfied.
find another mountain to
It's not
climb.
another mountain.
Exactly,
Oh, what's
exactly.
it? Yep, it's always, and that's the wonderful part of it. So instead of making like the cycles of convenience, I feel like convenience puts us in like this cycle, this unhappy cycle where we're not really fulfilled, we're not excited. But if we find the energy, find the courage, right? If we find ourselves worthwhile, but again, that's really starting with inside. I believe in myself. I am the adventure. Woo! I mean, just overcoming my own, I hear you using the word crazy, but I just want to say, like, just overcoming my own thoughts and my own self, like that is half the battle of the whole entire day. Oh my goodness. If I can make it to noon, try making it to noon without saying something like completely disturbing to yourself or your loved ones. Try that.
Yeah,
Try
yeah,
making it to 8 a.m.
yeah.
without
Just,
think, right,
talking
it's just
positive.
it's
Yeah,
right, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And that sounds like kind of over the top because it's like, well, man, that's tough, yeah, it can be, but that's the whole point. We got to start somewhere. We got
yeah.
to start somewhere and be patient with ourselves, be loving and patient with ourselves the same way we would, nurture and cultivate, a newborn or any new thing. We would give grace and patience to of learning and
Yes,
adapting.
yes.
We need to cradle and love that inner child, that whatever was missing, whatever we thought we should have had, whatever, because we put so much pressure on our parents to like have been like everything for us. But whatever we whatever that, I mean, it's not realistic, but whatever gaps we could fill, whatever gaps we think we felt, we can now we're the adults and we can fill those gaps. Embrace that inner child, wonder again, you know um and think what if again, and allow for play again.
Yes.
These are the simple things, and then from there the rest will come to you. You'll know what to eat, what not to eat, how much to drink, what not to drink, when and how. Those things will come to you because it'll match your lifestyle and what's best for you. But you've got to
Yeah,
first know you deserve the best.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I love all of this. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
Oh.
This resonates so much with everything. I've been doing a lot of personal work, as you would call it.
Right. Inner work, the inner
Inner
engineering.
inner work, exactly,
Yeah.
inner work, because who you are from the inside is going to show up on the
Yeah.
outside.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's all you have.
Yeah.
right? And we are all we have. As you
Exactly.
started, when we started out, you said, oh, we want to be part of a community, we want to have a
Yeah.
community, we want to work in groups. You don't do this alone.
Yeah.
No, we don't do
No.
this alone. All we have is each other.
Hmm.
If we just sit with that and accept that, and then start, working with each other, and be happy with who we are.
Being happy with who we are. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A
So
smile
so
goes a
that,
long way.
yeah, and that will not only be good for like our health and longevity and our skin, and all the other body parts and all the other systems of the
Yeah.
body too,
Yep.
for our physiology and anatomy, but also it will be so good for everyone around us, like, the people of our clan, our tribe, our
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
wherever that is for you.
Yep. Yep.
So, Marquita, where can people find your book, and where can people find you and your services and products? Because I'm sure a lot of our listeners are like, we want to connect with Marquita right now.
Yeah, no, that would be fantastic. So, Instagram or any social media would be at Divinity Skincare, and that's spelled DVINITI Skincare. Our website where you would find everything, divinity.com. So again, DVINITI.com. And everything we do there, whether it's products, finding more about our educational platform, the sustainable beauty workshops that we host. We do lab to launch workshops and seminars with students where we go out for after school programs, different organizations, and we're able to provide actual workshops where students can come like learn 8-week program of how to formulate products, but also then how to launch their products in the market often one day, and maybe even monetize their own skills. So that's something that we're doing for our community outreach, and how we're making, I guess, setting a new impression for the future cosmetic chemists of the world, or biochemists, and just inspiring in every way we can. Yeah, divinity.com, at Divinity Skincare. Of course, LinkedIn, Marquita Robinson, I can be found. Or just really Google Divinity or Marquita Robinson Garcia, and we'll pop up a bunch of things that we're involved in here in Philadelphia and the surrounding area, as well as a few, on Amazon, but as well as Book Baby. It was self-published, so I'm always proud
Nice,
of that. Yeah,
nice.
so it is available on Amazon, but if it's sold out, then it's also sold on bookbaby .com. And that's the sustainable beauty, bridging the gap to personalized skincare.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much again. This was so good. I I honestly, before, joining this call today, I didn't realize that we will talk about our inner beauty and how we show up and how it impacts not only our skin, just in our whole health in general. And I do work with my patients based on like holistic health and all this, but this conversation took such a good turn. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I learned so much from you, and I bet our listeners and viewers learned so much as well. So thank you for joining us today. And thank you, everyone on LinkedIn. If you're watching us live, thank you for joining us. And if you're listening to this in a podcast format on our 9 to 5 Wellness podcast, thank you for listening today. I can't wait to bring you another wonderful guest next week. So stay tuned. Bye.